So I'm Lil, and this is Rob.
Yeah. Hi. Oh, it's the cheesiest intro ever, isn't it?
No, it's not my cheesiest yet. I don't think. I think I've had cheesier. You've not won that title just yet.
Well, no, we can do. Well, I can do
No,
better.
no, that's quite all right.
I can do better. You know.
I want to see that now. Don't believe you. So, can I get you to, if you wouldn't mind, tell me a little bit about your diagnosis, Rob, if you're able to, please? I mean, feel free to chip in, Lil, if there's anything you want to
Yeah. She always chips in. Don't you, babe? Yeah. If I'm not telling it right, it's actually straight in there. Oh, don't forget about this. No. So I was diagnosed 3 years ago. Yeah, May 2015. Actually, my symptoms started off as I was getting an aching in my leg. I had a bit of a shake in my hand, but not too bad.
Yeah.
I had a dragging foot when I walked, and I put it off for ages to go to the doctors because I don't like doctors.
A long time, as in probably almost a year.
Yeah.
Your wonderful mother-in-law basically forced.
No, your mother-in-law, my mum.
Oh yeah. Sorry, my mother-in-law. She forced me to go to. Well, she forced you to make an appointment for me, and it was just like, right, you're going on the way back from work. Okay, so I went to the doctors, didn't I? And everything seemed to be normal. She did lots of weird tests where she starts moving your hand around and stuff, which I'd never had before. And I think she tried her best to sort of, well, she said, relax your leg, and she was like holding it up against the chest, struggling. And I thought, okay, that's a bit weird. She's going, oh, please relax your leg. I was like, I'm not doing anything, trust me, you know. And then, she goes, right, I need to phone the hospital and talk to one of their neurology department.
That's a bit of a scary sentence.
Yeah, can you wait in the waiting room while I do that? Okay. So I go out and I sit in the waiting room for about 5 minutes. And then she comes out and then she falls to her knees in front of me, which I'm thinking this is either a very bad sign or even worse sign, and says, right, this letter, and you need to go to, what was it, the Acute Medical
Receiving Unit.
Yeah, at Queen's Medical Centre. Okay, so that's when I messaged you and said, I've got to go to the hospital.
So panic kind of slightly set in at that point because we'd just gone to visit the GP for something. I mean, we thought it was like a pulled muscle or trapped nerve or something really simple. So for her to kind of send him straight off to the unit at Queen's, we were kind of, oh, okay.
So what was it?
We went to see them, didn't we?
Yeah.
Like, we went straight away.
And they basically said, well, I think, didn't the first one, I think it might be multiple sclerosis.
Yeah.
Said, well, right, so you've got two choices. With the letter to your GP, and, we'll make an appointment for you to come and see a proper neurologist. But that could be like, what, weeks and months or something like that, she said. Or we can admit you overnight and you can see the ward doctor in the morning. So we took box number 2.
Yeah, you'd had a CT scan by this point, hadn't you?
Yeah.
They wanted to rule out, obviously, any kind of tumours or anything like that.
Yeah.
You stayed overnight, didn't you?
Yeah, so, the first thing I got woken up at about, was it 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, to move you to
2 o'clock in the morning. Oh, Mr. Jaques, we're going to do your obs. Oh, okay.
Oh, great.
Moving you to another ward. Oh, thanks, okay. So the porter came and picked me up and whisked me down to another ward. And then in the morning, I think, right, so I got seen by 3 doctors in the end. The ward doctor came round with, because, I mean, Queen's Medical Centre is a
teaching hospital, yeah.
So this doctor comes in with about 20 student doctors with him. And they all come and start playing with my arm again and, making me walk up and down the room. And then I sat down on the bed this doctor, he turned to me, and I remember him vividly because old guy, grey hair, you know, but he had a bit of a I don't know, swagger about him, as doctors do when they've got lots of female student doctors with them. But he said to me, so Mr. Jaques, are you worried about what might be wrong with you? I was like, well, no, because you haven't told me what it is yet. And off he strolled, and that was it. You know, he didn't tell me anything. He comes in, and he's a junior neurologist. Junior, can I check you out before like the main neurologist comes round? Yeah. So he's reading through the notes, and he's done all this arm testing as well. You know, it's like right. So the doctor that came and saw you this morning thinks it might be Parkinson's. Or about that. So I'm going to go and get the other neurologist. I can't remember, but I'm sure he said, because you're a young guy, whether it's that or not. I was like, okay. And then literally, so the neurologist came in, became my neurologist.
Dr. Evans, who's now our consultant. Yeah,
our consultant. He just he did all the hand tests. He made me walk up and down and say, oh, look. What? Oh, no, it's not. So that wasn't happening. And he said, yeah, you've got Parkinson's. Straight away.
Pretty much in those words, wasn't it? Very straight to the point. And the only thing that made him doubt himself, but the only thing that gave him a little bit of doubt was Rob's age. And he said at that point that he'd only ever diagnosed one other person under the age of 40. So for that reason, he then sent Rob for an MRI, a couple of other things. Nothing else really, but within the space of 24 hours, and then had a diagnosis.
That's crazy. Yeah. How old were you, Rob?
20.
35. You wish you were 20.
I wish I was in my 20s.
Yeah, that's an amazingly quick turnaround on a diagnosis. I think I've spoken to people during this project that have waited months for any sort of knowledge, but I think ultimately probably those people in their heart of hearts knew Parkinson's, the consultants knew Parkinson's. It's just, you're right, when you're younger it's a lot of crossing the T's and dotting the I's and sort of making sure that they've checked for everything else, because no one understands that it can be Parkinson's until you say no, there's nothing else that can be. It's Parkinson's. It's what you've got.
Yeah.
Sounds like an incredibly stressful 24 hours. From like choosing to go to the doctors and just thinking probably you were popping in after work and they'd say, oh, get a better mouse and a mouse pad at work or something, and
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was a real roller coaster, and to be honest, it hasn't really stopped since then, and we're coming up to almost 3 years now. It's completely understand. It's a very up and down journey along the way, isn't it?
No, totally. Yeah.
So, what was that day like for you, Lill? Like, I imagine it was pretty stressful for both of you, but what was it like to hear him say on the phone that he was having to go to hospital and things like that? Were you really frightened?
I think we were a bit puzzled more than anything else. My mum was here at the time with us, so we weren't really panicking or anything. It was just, well, you've gone to the GP, why are you suddenly going to the hospital? Because the GP hadn't really given any indication as to why she was sending him to the hospital. And then the neurologists and things, and they mentioned about sending him for a CT scan, and they were querying whether there might be a tumour or something there, and I think it was at that point that we thought, okay, it's getting a bit more serious now. It was kind of just a really surreal 24 hours.
I can imagine it's bizarre because you are literally at work and then you make a decision to go and get it checked out and nothing's actually physically changed. You are the same person as you were that morning, but suddenly everyone's taking you a lot more seriously and in hospital.
Yeah.
A got loads of attention from the doctors, didn't you?
Oh,
they were flocking around because they were all kind of, oh, well, what could it be? Could it be this? Could it be that? And
you know, when they come into the room with
case.
a load of students, you're an interesting case topic. You know something weird's happening when they, you know, it's
that's it.
Rob and I are very different.
Yeah, whereas, well, I mean, you can see the way I'm sitting now, you know, I mean, you know, I'm horizontal usually most of the time. You know, if it was any more laid back, you know, I'd permanently stay like this. So, just like, well, I think three words would sum it up with my thoughts at the time was, well, that sucks. It does, because it was just like, oh, okay, all right, well, then I
think it kind of gave you an answer, though, didn't it? Because obviously Rob had been experiencing these symptoms for quite a while. We didn't think it was anything serious, but at the same time, we were obviously wondering what was going on. So I think for you it was more of an answer, whereas for me it just completely blew me away. Like,
it starts to, I think the diagnosis for me was that because obviously I've been struggling with it for a while. It answers a lot of questions. And it's like, oh, that's why I dropped that glass that day.
And all the sort of non-motor stuff as well. Like I found similarly, like exactly what you're both saying. I kind of found that I almost came to terms with my diagnosis more quickly than my family did, because for them it just rocked them completely, whereas I was like, I think I had an inkling, and it also explained a lot of things I'd been worried about, and so I was just glad I wasn't going to die, really. And I think it's actually harder on diagnosis day for everyone else to come to terms with it a little bit. It's hard for the person who's going through it, but for everyone else I think it's actually because they don't know how you're feeling as well. They assume that you're feeling how you're saying you're feeling. You have to kind of trust someone and believe that they are okay if they're saying they're okay, and so it's a different
I think for me, David hit the nail on the head in one of his posts, and he said it's not just that lives with Parkinson's, and it's not, because we're very much in it together, and you know, my family's involved and Rob's family are involved as much as they can be, but I think watching from the sidelines is sometimes harder because you don't necessarily understand what's going on. It's feeling, and it's a really tough thing to watch someone go through.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially someone like me, I don't like treated to anybody else, you know. So when you get chucked out of Hooters and they have to explain the reason why you're hyperactive is because of your medicine, not because you're blind drunk, is a bit quite understandable that, you know, people don't realise that's what it is.
So I would say that you guys are kind of firmly wedged into the PD community. You know, you are sort of people that, you know, I met you through the PD community, and you know, you're sort of. What does it mean to you having, you know, people around you that know what you're going through, or?
To be fair, it's you don't have to explain things, do you? You know what I mean?
It really does make all the difference. Because when Rob was first diagnosed, like a lot of people that are diagnosed with Parkinson's and their families, you don't necessarily know much about Parkinson's or anything. And for us, it was a real finding out that the people are there in similar situations, but that they want to reach out and have that support as well.
I think, I mean, and also as a younger person as well, it was more difficult to find that information.
Yeah, because we were advised, when Rob was first diagnosed, we were advised not to attend any of the local support groups. And that, people are always like, well, why? That's so silly. But actually it's because the people that tend to go to the support groups are that much older, or they've had the disease a lot longer. They're at very different stages. And as much as I think we could rock up to one of the groups now and be absolutely fine, I don't think it would have done us any good at all.
Well, the other thing was that, when the first time we went they have like a movement and disorder clinic, which we go to like once every 6 months.
Yeah.
And we went in there, and they're advertising all these wonderful things, like a coffee morning with
trips to Chatsworth.
Kew Gardens, and all this stuff. But then all the groups, it's like, move in with Parkinson's. When's that? Oh, it's on a Wednesday at 2 in the afternoon.
During the day when younger people are at work, and
it was like literally everything was on during the week.
I mean, a big part of most people's lives nowadays is social media and being online. And for us, that was an obvious place.
Yeah.
So obviously we came across Parkinson's UK website, and then it was only a few weeks after diagnosis that we heard David on the Jeremy Vine show, in touch with him via Twitter, and it just kind of spiraled from there. But there is this massive community to find it, but I for one am so glad that we did, because not only has it given us opportunities to do things that do, but we've got to meet so many people through it as well who what we're going through, both of us, not just Rob.
So during your time since your diagnosis, is there anything you've learned that you would want to share with someone that's recently been diagnosed? Is there any kind of, either of you, both of you really, or is there anything you'd want to share, Lil, with the family or loved one of someone that's been diagnosed, that you've kind of learnt about the condition, or you've learnt about the diagnosis, that you'd want to share?
I think the one thing that I would say, and it's really hard, it's not easy, but is to try and stay positive and focused on what you can do and not what you can't do. I've had to make a lot of adaptations over the past few years to make sure that Rob can still do things independently and do the things that he enjoys, and to kind of look back and say, just take it in your stride. You really do have to try and do that. You can't just kind of shut down and switch off to it, because it's there all the time. It's such a big part of that person, and I get that some people don't want it to be, the be all and end all, and we try not to make it that. And you just have to kind of ride the storm out.
What? Sorry, am I getting in the way? You're a bit closer.
In the way.
I have no control over my head, you know this.
What would you say to someone that's newly diagnosed then? You're not very good at this, are you?
What, motivational speaking? Right.
Probably taking for the pint.
Don't do drugs. Stay in school. No. I think it's Parkinson's class as disability.
Yeah, well,
for some people,
if you think it is, then it is, kind of thing. I think it technically probably is.
I think, to me, it's always been, don't be scared about, letting people know about your condition. Because, I hate to see that when I see people sort of saying, it's for like 3 years and I haven't told my family yet.
Yeah.
Well, if they're your family, then it doesn't matter what they think of it. They'll love you regardless. It's just, how can I put it? I'll tell anybody that I've got Parkinson's. I don't care. And
you went to work the day after diagnosis and told your work straight away, didn't you?
I told them that night.
But that's kind of how we've always been with it, is open and honest about it. And if people have questions, ask questions.
Yeah.
Don't be embarrassed or think, I can't ask you that.
Yeah.
Just ask, because all we're going to do is say, just give you the answer.
Yeah.
And be open and honest. And I get that not everybody is like that. Not everybody finds it as easy to talk about these kind of things. But actually, I think it's done us a lot of good in kind of treating it that way and managing it that way. Oh, yeah. And as I say, it's by being so open and honest about it, it has given us loads of opportunities and made loads of friends as well, which can't be a bad thing.
I definitely suggest. I mean, apart from avoiding, like, say, the more established groups, because so many coffee mornings you can go to, and talking to Ethel, who's had it since 1975.
You'd get in trouble with work, wouldn't you, if you started not going in the mornings because you were going to have coffee with Ethel? It'd be it's probably not good for your work life.
Yes, Ethel, if you watch, I'm sorry.
She'll forgive you, I'm sure.
Oh, no, I'm not getting invited again then.
Ethel's not giving you any more cake. That's it. No more cake from Ethel now.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just like, there are active groups out there. You might have to travel for it. It depends how well established it is in your area, but there are people out there of a similar age to you who are going through this condition.
Yeah.
There are people who are younger than you that are going through this condition. You're not on your own. We're out here. I'm just saying, look, here's me. Got Parkinson's. Get used to it. Bye.
Bye.